and perspectives of people and their interpretation of what's going on and what they're hoping for. And I use that word hope. I've been watching the survey that's been coming up periodically during the presentations. I think the question's about when do you expect business to return to normal, or when do you expect to go to exhibitions again? I think probably the question that most people are answering is, when do you hope that business will resume, and when do you hope to go to exhibitions again? I don't know. No certainty that it's even over yet. So no, but I think it's forced people to reflect on the way that we've done things up to now and what the opportunities are going forward. Nobody likes change. And I think this has been a change, a big change imposed on a lot of people, and imposed without their will and without their consent and without knowledge. And different people have reacted in different ways to that change. And some of people are hoping desperately it goes back to exactly the way it was before. And other people will see this as an opportunity, almost a, well, I've likened it, I know in discussions we've had, I've described the situation after this as a Klondike, that there's going to be a lot of business that's up for grabs, because whatever else happens, the amount of food that we bought and ate before COVID is the same amount we're eating now, and it's the same amount we're going to eat in 6 months' time. That hasn't changed. So that amount of consumption, that amount of packaging is a constant. We're not going to stop buying food as a result of this. How we buy it, where we buy it is changed, and some of it will change. I've looked at, certainly I've been using online deliveries far more than I ever have, but I don't expect that to continue. And part of that is it only works because I'm at home to receive those deliveries. As soon as we go back to work and we're not at our homes, online delivering doesn't work. It does for some things, but for a lot of things, it doesn't work.
Dave, if you've been in the print industry quite a long time, if you were a printer, what would you be thinking now? What would what's your kind of, how would you tackle this? How would you sort of deal with the challenges that a printing firm's going to face?
I think if and you break it by sectors, I mean, I've seen presentations over the last 3 days about floor graphics, and they're benefiting enormously from a windfall at the moment.
Yeah, sure.
And I think that a lot of people will have seen floor graphics for the first time and will be demanding it and looking for it in the future. So I think there's some of that business will stick. I think I look at the packaging sector, and I think a lot of the issues, certainly in the food sector, food not being on the shelf was nothing to do with the scarcity of the food. It was to do with the scarcity of the packaging and the packaging lines. Yeah. If you wanted a 25 kilo sack of flour, you could get it. If you wanted a 1 kilo bag, forget it, because it just wasn't available. And that was entirely down to the packaging and the packaging lines. So what it has shown is that when you get a major change in society, people with long supply lines can't respond. Now, that's been one voice I've heard throughout the whole of these 3 days, is that the ability to respond to change. Some people have done very well, others have failed miserably. And I think a lot of the food manufacturers are going to look at the lost sales that they've had because they couldn't get their products on the shelf in the form that people were looking for. So if you're a flour mill, one of the big ones, Spillers, you could get your flour on the shelf in 1 kilo bags and in 20 kilo bags for catering. But when you suddenly switch to there was no catering and everybody wants to buy it for home use, they couldn't get their product to the end users. So, and at the same time, your end users have thought about buying it locally. They're buying it from the farm shop. They're buying it from a local week even. And a lot of people will stick with that afterwards. They've been forced to try things that not tried before. And I think that's one of the big challenges for brand owners. At the beginning, when there were shortages of pasta and toilet rolls, and I'm never quite sure why it's those two products that go first, but nevertheless they were. The toilet rolls that were on the shelf, you bought them. It didn't matter about the colour, it didn't matter about the brand. In fact, it didn't even matter about the price. You bought them because you needed them. Going forward, a lot of people have tried brands that they've not tried before. They've even gone to supermarkets that they've not tried before. And brand owners, that's end product brands and supermarket brands, are going to have to struggle to recover their loyalty of their previous customers, or to hang on to the ones that have come through their doors since.
Yeah, yeah.
It's all up for grabs, and that's why I've called it a Klondike.
Yeah, can I just, so it'd be interesting whilst we're talking, just because we're wrapping up this, so if anyone's got any thoughts, questions, they want to put it into the chat, then we can just pose them and kind of get this out into the group, because I think we'd like to hear any thoughts that you've got, anything you want to share with us at this point in time. Dave, just thinking that, so at the moment, there are kind of 3 things that you see as the sort of takeaways from this, are there? I think there's been a different groups of attendees on this, for sure. There's been, at one end of the spectrum, you've got the manufacturers, obviously, sure,
one of those in the form of Ricoh. And we manufacture printheads, and we manufacture printers and ink. And we've got a middle tier of printers who are customers of ours, but are also sellers to the end consumer. And then you've had the end users at the other end of the spectrum. I think what's come out of this is, and during the course of COVID, we've lost the exhibitions, Droop has been pushed back. And I think a lot of people are questioning, actually, why do we need exhibitions anymore? If you want to buy a tin of baked beans, having it delivered online is fine. If you want to buy a car, you still need to go to the showroom and try it. And I think there's this spectrum of value. The higher the value, the more you need to touch it.
You're right, but you might argue that the way the demand will work in the future is that the car manufacturer will bring the car to you and say, Dave, don't you worry about this, because of health and safety and all those things, we'll bring the car to you. And
yeah, I think car's perhaps not the best example, because by the time you go to a car showroom, you're pretty much fixated on 1 or 2.
Yeah, and yeah, exactly. So you've done your kind of sifting through.
Yeah, if you're going to Drooper and you're in the market for buying a large piece of capital equipment, you'll have your show guide, your virtual show, your digital show guide. You'll have worked out the route that you're going to travel through the halls to be efficient, because you're only there for 1 or 2 days if you're a buyer. And that's your strategy. But what happens is, you walk from hall to hall, you look left and right, and your eye will be caught or distracted by booths that you pass by. So going forward, if there's an opportunity out of this for a virtual exhibition, and again, I don't think there's going to be an opportunity for too many. I think, it's like price comparison sites. It's a finite number of price comparison sites, because there's a saturation point. If you had a virtual exhibition, and it can run all year long, I think the days of having to wait 4 years before you show a product have gone. We've already seen companies that were going to launch products at Drooper. They're not waiting till next year, till the rescheduled date. They're launching now.
Yeah, I just don't think that virtual exhibitions have any place in our customer
journey,
buyer relationship. I just don't. I honestly don't. We're using virtual technology here.
Yeah.
And the value of it is because we're able to share learning to a whole bunch of people. 1,300 delegates who've registered for this, and it's worked, pretty well delivering that. Not as good as going to a conference where you see face to face, because you don't get that extra bit where you walk around and have a chit chat with someone and you get some value out of that. But it's done some of the stuff. But the virtual side of exhibitions, I just don't believe that people will go into a virtual environment to sift through £2 million machinery. It's just unlikely to happen.
If you go back,
one final bit. I think it's about, and I want to ask you the question, Ricoh, you've got technology you want to show. Surely you want to bring people to that technology and let them look at it, rather than go to a big hall in Germany and get people troopsing around and you get tire kickers. It just doesn't make sense. It's the old-fashioned way of doing business.
I think the exhibition concept was that there were 2 types of customers at the show. There were the ones that you'd already sold to, and they were coming along for the photo and the handshake. And there were others which are coming along for a first taste, and at a later date, they will then come to your showroom and see your particular equipment. At the top end of the equipment range, very few people ever turned up at an exhibition not knowing what they were going to buy.
Exactly.
By having signed an order.
Yeah.
So you've got to look at the function of an exhibition. In some respects, it's a speed dating site. It's a market clearing function of matching buyers and sellers. If I go back to my early days, you found your customers if you were a seller, or you found your products if you were a buyer, by using trade directories, the Timson directory, the yellow pages. And yes, I am talking pre-net internet days. That was the way that you found out what was going on. And you relied on Print Week and all of the other publications to tell you what was out there.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Dave. So you and I both started in life as salespeople, where we had the strength in our knowledge of the market. So you would go to a customer with sales knowledge that they might not have, information about the market. Doesn't happen anymore because they can find that information out online. So the selling, the relationship between customer and suppliers just changed, just completely.
I think, well, even in the process of selling has changed as well. I think most discussions are starting with cost of ownership. It's not starting with technical specifications, because even before the financial pressure that we've got now, it didn't matter how sexy the machine was, what color you painted it, unless it made money for your business, it was never going to get sold. So you look at what can, and it's that value that you add to a piece of hardware. And I guess that's part of my role is working, it's almost like a consultancy, seeing if it's the right piece of equipment. Because if a customer can't make money out of something you sell them, neither of you are going to make money.
Yeah.
We've got a question here. Do you think that online demos for CapEx will be accepted by customers?
I think they'll be accepted as an interim, but the final closing, want to come and touch the machine.
Yeah, so you might find that the online demo is a step before, but it serves the purpose, perhaps. Also, I think don't you think we should distinguish between large international exhibitions and local?
I think with the internet, there's no such thing. No, I think with the internet capability now, there are no national boundaries.
What I'm saying is, when you're talking about the future of trade shows, should we distinguish between international, big mega blockbuster events, and more niche shows that do a specific job, like Imprint, for instance, that does a very good, unique job that is more around communication and networking, and also national shows? Some of the polls we've done show that, well, actually, big trend, localization. Yeah. We're not going to be business traveling, but equally, we want to see stuff. A national show might be stronger than in a big international.
I think the budget for the international shows is so large. I think manufacturers have looked at how much they've been prepared to spend, and we've already seen names like Bob's and Xerox pull out of Drupa for the rescheduling. Could you use that money more efficiently? You know, can you do it by hosting your facilities and bringing customers who are serious? You talked about tire kickers. Well, once you filter those out, people who are serious, bring them in, and you'll be able to do a better job one-on-one, rather than with, it's very difficult to do a demo, an exhibition with 100 of your competitors standing behind you. If you can still make those initial contacts virtually instead of at an exhibition, you still make that final closing demonstration and convincing over the machine, and you're doing that in your own showrooms.
I was just really conscious, the reason I tried to interrupt there was I was really conscious that this debate we're going to talk about events particularly is going to be carried on in the virtual pub at 5:15. So let's see if we can cover off some other questions. I know there's a couple more questions. Marcus, did you want to read that one out?
Yeah, it was just about AR. I think Mary makes a point there that actually, you know, if you look at sort of estate agency market, they're using VR a lot to show around houses and stuff, and it's become quite sophisticated and quite normal to do. And actually, why can't we redeploy technology? We're a high-tech market, aren't we? There's another question here. Go on.
Well, I think just to sort of follow up on that, I think next week, for instance, we're hosting 7 international demonstrations of the wallpaper line that we do with Allbrick. And we're doing that, it's one-on-one with the customer, so we can bring their files, so there's a confidentiality in there. These are customers from Europe and from America, and it makes it personal. It's all that travel. It's an efficient use of half a day of somebody's time without 2 days traveling either side of it in some.
Exactly.
At the end of that, and then after we've done the follow-up meetings and made sure the numbers stack up, yes, they're then welcome to come over and see and touch it. But I think the use of virtual demonstrations is going to become increasingly important in capital equipment.
Yeah.
Take
Another
to
thought-
the customers.
I think we all
Another thought-
agree that.
Another thought here, and I think it's a fair comment. A lot of the presenters are all middle-aged. The
Some of us are older.
the generation coming up will see things differently. I had visited, now not being in the show industry so much linked than previous in the last year or so, been to a couple of shows and thought, yeah, you know what, they're exhausting. They're exhausting to get to, exhausting to walk around, exhausting to exhibit at, and exhausting to budget. And with all those things together, the event format might need to change. The format, I think it's pretty similar to what you're saying. And also, I think the generation coming up, this could be as close to face as they need.
Yeah, can we pick up on that? Because I think that's a theme that's come through. This idea of our industry tends to be an older industry, and two things: women and obviously younger people. How do we get people into this industry? How do we get? Here's a question. I have interns adding AR to all our technologies. It just shows that's the point that we're trying to make here, isn't it? That to change, we are being disrupted by COVID. It's an industry that is being disrupted. And this gives us opportunity as well as threat, doesn't it? So can we start, thinking differently, employing different people, and kind of, using some of this technology?
I think there is. I think the opportunity here, that there's going to be print, and I think a lot of people, we talked about shortening supply chains. A lot of people have talked about their concerns that they've been caught with their trousers down in terms of how long supply chains have been for raw materials, for print, for everything. And so people will look to onshore a lot of those functions in order for security, for resilience in their product. And I also think people are now trying methods that they wouldn't have tried otherwise. And not everybody will think they're successful. They'll move them on and go back to the old way of doing it. We're still going to print, but I think what this has done is this may be a real body blow for the print industry generally, or for the economy. But I think it's a huge injection in the arm of inkjet, because it is a technology that will allow manufacturers to respond to change quicker. And I think that's what we've seen. You look at all of the innovation and the way that people have brought out products, brought them out quickly, packaging, floor stickers, face masks, whatever it is, and they all involved inkjet or ink associated.
Really good point.
With them. So
really good point.
I don't hear the analog printers that have been able to respond in the same way. In fact, quite the opposite. They've seen lengthening of the supply lines for having gravure cylinders engraved and so on. So I think this is a shot in the arm for inkjet. I think people who've already invested are seeing justification of why they did. I think people who haven't invested are going to see this as a reason to, or at least explore it. And I think inkjet will grab a bigger share of the print market as a result of this than might otherwise have happened. We've accelerated the migration from analog to digital.
You say we've accelerated. Is that something we'll see in sort of 6 months, 12 months, 2 years?
No, I think it's happening now. I think it's happening now. People who bought machines dipping their toe in the water are now running them 24/7. I think some of the data that we're going to get out the back end of this, if people are honest, are about the amount of inkjet that's been sold, the actual ink, because that's always a good measure of what's been produced. And I think you'll see growth figures in those areas. It'll drive it. And it's also
so inkjet. Just to pull things together here, so inkjet, you think is going to be one of the kind of benefits of the COVID crisis. You think that print businesses that survive, and let's be brutal about this, will be the ones that have been innovative, that have adopted an approach that maybe recognises
they can adapt. They're agile.
Yeah, technology, and maybe employing people that are younger, maybe more dynamic, more tech savvy, all those things. Do you think these are the kind of takeaways from this?
Yeah, I really do. I think, it's a horrible thing, to see the casualty list from this COVID is horrible. And if there is an upside to it, and I would not have wished this on anybody, but if there is an upside, what I see is an acceleration in the transition from analog to digital.
Okay. Be interested if anyone's got any comments on that, please post them and we'll pick that up. Yep, exactly as Marcus says. Don't forget there is a V-Press Crown Pub chat about events. That's why I tried to steer us off the events bit again, because otherwise it's going to be... Is there anything else that you really wanted to just pick up on, Marcus or Dave, at the end of the session, the end of the 3 days? Any comments, any thoughts, anything?
I think I've been impressed. You got 73 delegates, presenters.
73 speakers.
Yeah, I think speakers. I think the quality of the skill set across the industry is brilliant. I mean, to see that much talent assembled in one place, when you would never normally, I don't see any other event that could have put that much experience in one place.
Thank you for that. Thank you very much.
That's been really useful.
I would just comment that I've heard a few people say it's been a bit vendor orientated, not totally. We've definitely had some printings in there. We would love to have had more printers talking, but the challenge is to get printers to step up to the plate and stand and say, this is what we're doing. So listen, if you're listening and you're a printer, please get in touch with us, because we'd love to be able to share your story, and you may not want to share it, but reality is in the future, that's the way that we'll all find out more information about how to take business forward, is by sharing it. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Mark, do you want to make any comment?
Yeah, I think what came through in a few of the sessions was this sense of, it wasn't just talking technology, it was talking about actually how do you adapt, the opportunity and adversity, the fact that actually when we're presented with problems beyond our control, it's often we're at our most creative, our most resourceful. When things are ticking along nicely, we don't need to be pushed out of a comfort zone. You don't tend to make breakthroughs. So I think there is, from what I understand from the conversations I had, the sessions I've moderated, there's a lot of actual innovation happening, a lot of collaboration, a lot of kind of like surprisingly effective, busy people out there doing things. And as I said before, I don't think necessarily, I haven't seen how that's going to materialize yet, but I know that people like Dave, as you were saying, Dave, you have like 12-hour days at the moment.
Yeah, it's silly time.
Yeah.
But I think what's come out of this as well is the huge passion for print that there is. This isn't just a job. For everybody who's either been a panelist or a delegate, we actually enjoy print, probably because we don't know anything else. We are all passionate about it and we care about it. So I think as an industry, it's got a future for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's fantastically creative and diverse, isn't it? And it intersects with science and also sort of engineering. It's kind of like it's kind of varied, multifaceted.
What's been really interesting about this experience for us is that we asked people to speak, and people have given their time, and it's been just brilliant for us that people have just volunteered to speak and have got on and gone through this using this technology that none of us are particularly familiar with. So I would say on the other side of it, all the speakers that have got involved in this, thank you to all you guys, because you've made it what it is essentially. So thank you.
Well, we'd have only been at Drupal otherwise, so
yeah.
I had a gap in my calendar, so I thought I'd fill it. But no, it's a great from the presenter's point of view. It's been a great platform for us to be able to reach a large number of people with a relatively small sacrifice of time.
Yeah. Dave, on that thought, you just mentioned Drupal, and I know we're going to talk about Drupal in the pub. Just out of curiosity, what would you expected to have seen launched at Drupal in 2 weeks' time or whenever it was? What were you kind of expecting at the beginning of the year before COVID? What did you think? Oh, when I go to Drupal, I'm expecting to see Lando come up with something crazy and this happening and this happening. What did you think it was going to be all about?
I think there are some new technologies coming through. I know certainly I've been involved in a couple of projects, and in fact one of them was one of your presenters, which was the Actiga metal print one. That was going to be the launch platform for the digital version of their product, and now they've launched it on your platform instead.
Yeah, which is lovely.
Which was great. Certainly I've got a couple of other projects that, and my part of it is we are project based in Printheads, supporting other people building machines. I think what we're starting to see is people using inkjet printing onto going beyond the commercial print, so real industrial print onto products that when you pick it up, you don't think of it as a bit of print, you're thinking of it as a functional product. We're seeing products that, I guess it is this analog to digital transition. I know it's it's been bandied around. And one of the speakers today was talking about the wallpaper, that the products, the company that's successfully printing this, Marburg, they don't talk about digital wallpaper. It's wallpaper. How it's printed is academic. So I think there would have been a lot of understated product launches. I know we've seen some coming through from other companies. They're launching their products now, new presses, bigger, better, faster, different. But in its essence, we're still putting ink on things. I've been doing that for nearly 50 years now, and I'm still putting ink on things. How I do it has changed, but in essence, I'm putting ink on things. And the variety of the things that we're putting ink on is growing. It's no longer just ink. We're seeing functional fluids, we're seeing biomedical fluids, we're seeing all sorts of different things that can be done with inkjet that couldn't be done with analog. So I think it's an evolution. And it's all part of that analog to digital transition.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's very interesting that you've highlighted that at the end. Marcus, did you just want to give the audience a bit of insight into what we are thinking as regards this virtual event? Because obviously we've learned something from this.
I think we need to download a bit, but I think in essence we want to take what we've learned from this and bring to life some events that perhaps do slightly different things in maybe not 3 days of event, 3 days in a row, because that was quite intense and difficult to do. But also I think there's a point to which, if you have a day that does a specific job, like for instance launching products, so a FuturePrint launchpad event. We think,
and the idea would be what, to try and encourage.
Well, no, it's to provide, I guess, to solve the problem that we're actually how are you communicating what you're doing, what you bring out new products. A lot of people like I think Francois said, we haven't just put our new launches in the fridge. We want to continue to launch them, and I think people will look for independent sort people to help them get that message across. It's good having your own event with your own customers, doing it your own way. There's an independent one with I don't know, 10 to 12 different products being launched. That's quite exciting and dynamic. And we got other ideas as well around analysis, and I think that's come through as very popular from this.
And technology,
and integration and technology.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Some ideas.
Good. How are we doing for time? We're very near the time where the pub begins.
Yes.
So listen, I just wanted to say, Dave, thanks very much for helping us out on the last final session.
You're welcome. Thanks for the invite, and thanks for everything else you've done during the week. It's been
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for being part of it, and for your support and for your insight and for sharing that. On a personal note, you've had a good week as well, so have a nice drink. Yeah.
I've got one sitting here, so I probably know my boss is watching, so I'll wait until the pub opens. Let's get into it.
Okay,
cool.
Brilliant.
Listen, thanks very much to everyone. Thank you to all the participants, all the people who have listened in for this last session, and all the speakers who've been absolutely brilliant. There's lots of content. That content is all available now. So all the videos that have been done, all the live sessions have now been videoed, so they will be available. So there's a whole bunch of Netflix content all around print, all around FuturePrint, that will be available to anyone who's interested. So thank you very much to all of you.